Shell Part 2 Purgatorio is the HD remastered of Kara no Shoujo, the second episode, a visual novel originally released in the West by Manga Gamer. Now, under Shirafune's publication and Lemniska's meticulous translation work, the game has been re-released alongside its predecessors, setting the stage for the long-awaited conclusion of the trilogy. This release not only revitalizes the series for modern platforms, but also serves as a bridge to the highly anticipated third installment, making it a must-play for fans of psychological horror and mystery.
あれがゆかりっちのお兄さん？ええ。なんかさ、かっこいいね。そうですか？まあ、兄は外面だけはいい人間ですからね。
In the Shell Part 2 Purgatorio, 2 years have passed since the first game, and Detective Raiji Tokisaka remains haunted by the unresolved disappearance of Toko Kuchiki. Despite the current odds stacked against him, Raiji's relentless pursuit of closure drives him forward. However, this personal quest is sidelined when a new wave of violence grips the city. A nurse is found brutally murdered, her body desecrated in a manner that suggests a mind consumed by madness. The gruesome details vividly depicted in the game set the tone for the dark and unsettling journey that's ahead. As Raiji delves deeper into the investigation, a young man is accused of the crime and attempts to end his life, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. What drove him to such extremes, and what secrets connect him to the victim? These mysteries form the core of the Shell Part 2, weaving a narrative that is as intricate as it is disturbing. A word of caution for players considering the Steam release though. The base game is heavily censored, requiring the adults-only patch to experience the story in its entirety. I should say that this isn't a matter of missing a few risque scenes. The Steam release is fundamentally incomplete, cutting off before the story reaches its climax. Without the patch, players are left with a fragmented experience that fails to capture the full depth of the game's dark and sordid narrative. For this reason, the uncensored version is the only way to truly appreciate the Shell Part 2. Where the first game laid the groundwork for its grim tale, the Shell Part 2 expands upon it with a narrative that is both more ambitious and more torturous. The story itself is a labyrinth of interconnected threads, each meticulously crafted to create a complex and multi-layered mystery. The pacing, while occasionally uneven, ultimately serves to heighten the tension. Lengthy dialogues and abrupt scene transitions may test the player's patience, but when the pieces of the puzzle finally fall into place, the payoff is nothing short of breathtaking. One of the game's most intriguing features is its requirement for multiple playthroughs to unlock the true ending. The first run provides a solid understanding of the plot, but it's only on subsequent playthroughs that additional scenes and revelations come to light. These new details not only enrich the story, but also expose players to even darker and more graphic elements, underscoring the game's unflinching commitment to its themes. True to its detective thriller roots, the Shell Part 2 incorporates interactive investigation segments where players can examine crime scenes in a point-and-click format. These moments of gameplay give players something to do rather than just read, offering a hands-on approach to unraveling the mystery. The imagery during these moments is very graphic, with mutilated bodies and blood-soaked scenes that leave a lasting impression. Thankfully, the mechanics have been streamlined compared to the first title. Gone are the convoluted click orders and restrictive rules. Now, players need only interact with each element once to progress. While the distinction between clickable areas can sometimes be unclear, the overall experience is more accessible and immersive, allowing for the narrative to take center stage. Developer Innocent Gray knows how to make illustrations, and this installment is no exception. Miki Sugina's art style strikes a delicate balance between realism and ethereal beauty, resulting in scenes that feel like living paintings. Whether in the intricate details of Japanese attire or the haunting elegance of a crime scene, every frame is a testament to the studio's artistic prowess. The soundtrack, composed by Manyo, further elevates the experience with a blend of jazzy melodies and traditional Japanese instruments that create an atmosphere that is both immersive and evocative. The music seamlessly adapts to the tone of each scene too, enhancing the emotional impact of the story as a whole. Lastly, the new translation here deserves some praise for its fluidity and literal quality, capturing the game's sophisticated narrative voice. While occasionally odd expressions and rare typos do appear, they are minor blemishes in an otherwise polished localization of this title. The Shell Part 2 Purgatorio is a masterful sequel that surpasses its predecessor in both scope and execution. Its complex narrative, rich character development, and unflinching exploration of dark themes make it a standout entry in the visual novel genre. While the pacing may falter at times, the game's ability to weave together its many threads into a cohesive and compelling whole is nothing short of remarkable. For those willing to brave its harrowing depths, the Shell Part 2 offers a profoundly human story that is as beautiful as it is disturbing. As the pieces of the puzzle come together and the true end brings a measure of closure, players will find themselves eagerly anticipating the final chapter of this unforgettable story. Noisy Pixel is giving the Shell Part 2 Purgatorio a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.